Good evening, everyone. Hello, welcome. Today is our Create a Date Day, and I thought today we should look at this gorgeous bundle called Thankful Garden. I'm pulling out this one because it has not only a stamp set and a set of dies that match the stamp set, but it also has a set of masks. So there are some of our bundles that have this little extra inclusion in them. You can see these are well loved. There's plenty of ink staining on these because they've been used in many different classes. But these are a little extra aid, an extra tool that you can put with your bundle to make some really neat effects. So let's discuss what they're all about. So we have called these in the past stencils with Close to My Heart, and they tend to be called masks with Stampin' Up. And what you can do with them is so many different effects. So of course we have got a stamp set here that does the outline of these two beautiful large flowers. In our masks, you can see this is the first stencil mask, and you can see there's the outline of the hydrangea and there's the outline of this beautiful cluster of flowers over here. So we can colour in with our masks these two different sets, and we can layer up colours, and that's what's really neat with them. So let's just have a little quick look at how they work very quickly first before we look at what things we can do with them. So I've done already pre-stamped a little stamp, the hydrangea from the set here. It's quite a large stamp, so I've got it on a reasonably large block. So I'll just set that one to a side. And I actually used my Memento black ink for this one. And because this is a large stamp, I tend to ink from the top down on large stamps. If the stamp's smaller than my ink block, I will turn my stamp over and I will stamp it this way, but only if it's a smaller stamp. Now, just one thing before I get on, carry on. I know that some of us have got the Memento Tuxedo Black. Some of us are still using older style stamps we used to use with Close to My Heart. I have heard a little tip that getting in the white stamp pad from Stampin' Up, and I haven't tried this out yet, so we might just have to be a little bit brave and maybe try it tonight. But the white stamp pad comes uninked. So it just comes as it is, and you get a little bottle of white ink with it when it arrives. So you're to ink it up. And I think that's because this, being a more of a pigment ink and quite a juicy ink, it has been prone to sort of leak in the packaging. So it's a lot better for us just to do it ourselves once we get it. But I've heard because this is actually that spongy effect, which is the same as all of Stampin' Up's other ink pads, it's a little bit more juicy than your Memento, which is the firm base. So it's, I can't remember the material differences. This is more foamy, this is the firm, a little bit more like what Close to My Heart's were actually. However, they're not so inky being like that. So if you like your black to be a bit more inky and so you can get a definite solid black, I've been recommended that you get the Memento ink refill and pop it onto your white ink pad before you put any white on, obviously. Just use it for black. So let's just give this one a little go. So we're going to just go back and forth over it, and I generally, some people do dots. I tend to just go back and forth like this, and because it's going on a white background, you can see exactly where you've been. So I'm going to go in both different directions, back and forth. And what would be really handy at this point is an old sort of card, maybe like a gift card that you've used, that you can just sort of scrape it back and forth a little bit too. I don't have one on me at the moment. So I'm just going to go back and forth in a few different directions, try and get to the edge without making too much of a mess. And I can tell if it needs more ink because it's still soaking it up. So although there's a little pool there in the corner, the rest of it is still soaking up really nicely. So it is still absorbing the ink that I'm putting on. So I'm just going to do this, and then I'm just going to leave it to sit. And I might try it out at the end of tonight. It might be a bit of a risk because I wouldn't have let it sit that long. But I'm going to see if this is a really good way to go for the future for our black ink, because we all like to have a definite good image when we do a black outline. And sometimes it can be a bit hit and miss when this one starts to dry up. I have obviously used my re-inker on this, and that's been great. But I'm just wondering whether we're going to get a really good effect with this one. So I'll close it up for now. We'll leave it in there just to sit and fester, and we'll see whether we like that idea. So that's just something on the side. Right, okay, so let's just talk back about masking. So with the masks, they come with a little notch in the top, and beside that notch there's a little number, and you won't really be able to see it very easily on the camera, or you might just, but this one says number 1, And then in the pile, they carry on, and this one here is a number 2, and so forth, up to, in this case, 5. So we know the order that they go. Now with this stamp, I do know that when it is upright, I have the notch to the right a bit. And I've worked that out because I've done this so often. Once you work out the direction that your notch needs to go, you know that every other notch from mask is going to have to go in that direction too. Right, you put your first layer on. Now I'm going to be inspired with colour by looking at our colour wheel. And the analogous colours are fabulous for our hydrangeas. So we could go our more violet hydrangeas with a Highland Heather, the gorgeous grapes, even getting as deep as Blackberry Bliss. We might want more of a blue one, maybe these brighter blues like the Balmy Blue and the Azure Afternoon. Or maybe we go more for these lighter sort of purpley pinks. We've got the Berry Burst, Fresh Freeze and Bubble Bar. So I'm just going to use let me just see, what have I got handy? I might try out actually the blues. I haven't really done a blue one yet for a while. So I'm going to start with maybe the Balmy Blue lightly and bring in the Azure Afternoon. So I've got these sitting over here, or even actually I might start with Pool Party, which is a slightly more minty blue, aqua blue, but we'll do that for a very light base. Now I've got a one here that I have used previously for a slightly darker colour, so I'll just wipe some of it off, or actually I've got a better one right here. So let's just use this. I'm just using one of our blending brushes because those are a really easy tool to use for this. Hold it firm, the stencil firm. You could obviously put some washi tape on here. I'm just a little bit lazy and I don't tend to always do what I should do. And I'm just going to do a really light covering in the background with this lovely Pool Party. And you can see straight away, oh, I've been doing it out of camera. Straight away I have got, sorry, I'll just bring this up as much as I can, a little bit of a coloured in piece. So that's number 1. Number 2, I'm going to come in and this time I'm going to use the Balmy Blue. So once again, I'm going to keep my little notch to the right because I know that that's the way I have to go with this set. And then I just twist lightly until I get all the white disappearing from my stencil. I can also know that I had this relatively straight last time, so that's going to work well. Right, so I'm going to switch over to Balmy Blue, which is a light blue, more of a real blue. So I'll pull in a sponge that's a little bit closer in colour to that. Now I'm just going to do this really lightly because it's quite a contrasting colour initially. So let's just pull in this. And at this point in time, if I pull this back, you'll see there is 2 shades going on to our lovely hydrangea. I could also be a little bit clever at this time because we all know that our hydrangeas often have a bit of purple and a bit of blue in them. So just to be a bit clever here, I might bring in a little touch of purple over some of the patches as well. So if we pull this back, we've got some blues and some purples, and that looks fabulous. I love it. Right, okay, so that's our second mask on there. Now I could go on to Azure Afternoon, which is the next one along on our colour wheel, which is quite a strong shade. But I've also got these stickles, and I wondered, this is totally just trying it out. I may hate it. We might all decide it's not a good look, but we'll give it a go. And what I'm going to do is pop on my third stencil, but instead of using a sponge and ink, let's just get this lined up right. Instead of using a sponge and ink, I am going to, I've lost. This is always actually the hardest one to line up if you don't do all the measurements. And I tend to normally measure it. Oh, here we go. Oh no, not quite. There it goes. Normally I do actually put a little notch on my base page so I know exactly where I need to line it. Right, so this time it's going to be like that. So I'm going to pull in my stickles. These are from, good old days. I've had these for a few years. I'm just going to pull out a little bit of this gluey, globby stickles. And I'm just going to rub it lightly over the third mask and see what effect we get by doing that. Okay, these have got a few stars. I'm trying to actually move the stars off because we don't really need stars in our hydrangeas, do we? There could be 1 or 2 stuck. So let's just pull that off gently. And we have got this beautiful glittery effect. Look at that. So that is putting the third mask on, but rather than blending and sponging the ink on, I have used the mask with some stickles in this case, or something else a little bit shiny. We could have used Wink of Stella and gone around if you had the more goldy effects, pinks and golds. That would look beautiful. But I like that, really like that. My only problem is now, because I've used something that needs to now set, I can't go off and do my leaves. So there is actually 2 more stencils that do the leaves. So for this particular one, I'm going to have to leave it a bit. I could heat set it, but I don't think that's even going to work in the time we've got. So I'll just leave that to one side for now. We may revisit it because I love it. Really love that one. Okay, so I've got another one pre-stamped here for us. Let's have a little play. First of all, going to try and make this camera show what I'm doing a bit better because it keeps wanting to fall down. Let's see if that works a bit better. Tightened it up somewhat. Right, now I'll just grab also a little wipe. I have a little cloth somewhere, 2 seconds. So I'll just wipe off that stencil so it's not so glittery and sticky. So we can carry on. I would do the messy one first, wouldn't I? Oh, but that was fun. I really loved that effect. Let's just pop it into view again so we can all kind of enjoy that sparkle. Isn't it neat? Okay, so the next one we are going to do, again, it's that hydrangea. So I'm going to go back to number 1. In fact, I'll just quickly wipe these 2. So with stencils, you can actually wash them properly under the sink, the tap, but obviously that makes the whole stencil a bit damp. So I tend to do that at the end. In between times, I just wipe it with a damp cloth like you saw. Okay, so we're going to do one this time, and we might pull in a bit of gold. So let's start with Bubble Bath. And on our colour wheel, if we're choosing Bubble Bath, what have we got? We've got Bubble Bath, Fresh Freesia, and Berry Burst all together. So let's see what we can do with this little combo. So I'll start with my Bubble Bath. See if I can pull up some of that colour onto my little sponge. This time I've actually got just a small sponge. Don't need a small sponge for the first one, but let's just go with it. Pull up our first one. Oh, I didn't hold it tight enough. That's lucky it's the first one. There we go. And we'll just get some of that lovely Bubble Bath pink coming through as a base. Really pretty. Okay, that's the first one, easy. Now my second one, I might pull in, just wondering whether I go straight to a slightly richer colour, which would be Berry Burst. Let's pull in Berry Burst for a slightly richer effect with number 2, which I have got another blending tool here, which will be a bit better for that colour. Oh yes, that's really pretty. Look at that, that's beautiful. Okay, I do love playing with these masks. They are just so fun, so quick. That's so fun. Now I'm going to do something with the third one on this one, a little bit different, but before I do that, I will pull in, I've learnt my lesson, I'm going to pull in my number 4, which is the leaves, and we'll just get a little bit. I'm going to use Lemon Lime Twist, which is a lovely light colour. Again, I'm just actually using a smaller brush, just going lightly over. And you might notice I don't do these exact because I kind of like the graduating look. I don't like it to look too exact. And then I'm going to actually stick with the same colour for my last one. And this, I find this quite a heavy number 5. So again, I'm just going to go really light, just for a little bit of an accent. I just don't want too much, otherwise I think it looks a bit unusual. It doesn't look too realistic. So that's lovely. We've now got sort of a 2-toned leaves, and we've got 2-toned hydrangea, but we haven't quite finished it off. What we're going to do this time round, instead of doing another layer, you know, darker layer still, I'm actually going to do something a little fun. I'm going to take Oops, let's just get this all lined up. Yep, I'm going to take my Versamark ink, which is a sticky ink, sticky clear ink, and I'm going to stamp through the stencil so that it just picks up the stick in that little gap, and then take that off carefully, and I'm going to put some gold embossing powder over the top of that. So let's just see what we think of this one. I am going to cut these flowers out. It doesn't matter if we've got a little bit extra stuck to the edges, but I think this could work quite nicely. So what I have to do now is heat set it. It looks a little bit rough at the moment because they haven't been heat set. So I have got a heat tool way over here, which you can see the shadow of. It doesn't quite reach, so I'm just going to hold this further away from you and just get a bit of heat setting going on our image and see what I think of our end result. Because it's one of the first times I've used the heat tool, it might take me a minute, and we'll just get it going. And see if that little shine on top of our hydrangea looks good. We're almost there. I'm starting to see it go. So when you heat set over the top of that embossing powder, it starts to melt, and you can start to see the shine come through as the bits melt, and then it just looks like magic, really. It's a pity you can't see it happening, but it's all coming through now. Just going over all the last little bits. Make sure every bit's being heat set. Almost there. I think I've got it all now. So, aside from the edge pieces that are a little bit messy, doesn't that look cool? It's got a real nice reflection going on. Now, I just wonder if I can heat set this a bit and still carry on. I possibly can't. I'll give it a go. So it would be quite nice to use this one as well, but we might carry on with the gold and pink one instead. Let me just see if that's starting to... Yeah, no, it's going to need a little bit more time. Right, okay, so I'm just going to take this one. Now, in our die cutting set, we have got... Oops, not that one, that's not going to work. We have got the outline for this beautiful flower. So I will take this to my large die cutting machine, sitting over on my other desk, and quickly cut that one out so that we can carry on with our creation. Right, did you hear all my banging and crashing going on as I cut that one out? Let's pull you back again. It's quite a it's a mind of its own, this phone on the stand. Right, okay, so let's just start to pull in some paper. So the Thankful Garden has got such a variety of beautiful papers we could use as a backdrop. So in fact, that's kind of using some of the colours we pulled in. It's using the other flower, but it's pulling in those colours. Black and white against the gold looks stunning. What have we got? That's not quite such a good match, but the greens could actually work. That's quite colourful. What else have we got in this set? Oh, that little leaf set's quite sweet too, isn't it? That's kind of lovely. And the dark black background. And what have we got left? Oh, that grid's rather neat too. Quite like that. And the greens. And then just a beautiful lilac. Oh, golly. Where am I going to start from, eh? I have got a card base here, and I did, oops, I haven't used the bone folder yet though, so it keeps wanting to flick up. And I have got out of lilac, I've actually used one of my go-to sets. There's a few go-to sets that I think everyone always needs in their stash, and that's this one at the moment. It's called the Textured Notes dies, and there's just a whole bunch of rectangles. And I've used one of the rectangles to cut out, it's actually this one here on the top, to cut out this shape. So I'm thinking I will layer my flower on top of that, which is quite pretty. And I've got a little thing here for a sentiment. Now this actually comes from the other real popular go-to, which I use all the time with my little banners, my circles, my squares. This one's called the Stylish Shapes dies. So this is another very useful set that I've pulled out one of the circles, and I'm just going to put a little sentiment on that, which I might just pop to one side. So obviously that background's a little bit too wishy-washy. I do quite like the black and white, so I may go back to that. And the spotties, that looks pretty cool too, doesn't it, guys? Let's just put a bit more gap colour in there. Yellow's just not quite the right sized flower. I still quite like that backdrop. That one is stunning. Maybe it's that one. I wonder if anyone is watching at the moment and can recommend for me. I think it's going to be one of the black and whites. Oh, I really like that. So I'm going to pull this one out. So I made this little sampler at the start of this 2 months with this set of online exclusives, which this lovely garden, Thankful Garden, comes from. And I made that little sampler, but this is going to finish at the end of this month. They might be still around for a bit, but they're not guaranteed, and they might go into the last chance, which means that once they're gone, they're gone. But I'm thinking if we pull that one in, pop this one on top, we've got quite a lovely little combo going on with that one. So let's just do a little sentiment. If we look at our stamp set, we have got with love and thanks, or just with love would work and fit on here. So I could do with love with the gold embossing as well, in fact, or I could just do it with black. Shall we just do it with black? In fact, shall we try? Let's give this a go. It hasn't been very long, but let's give my new black ink pad a little try. This could be risky. I haven't tried this before, and I actually wouldn't mind having my little stamping block underneath just to give us a bit of, oh yeah, it's inking it up quite well. Make sure the whole lot's got some on. Right, goodness knows, guys, but let's have a try. Oh, it's a little bit too inky at the moment. We need to let it sit a bit longer. I thought that might be the case. Right, so we're going to grab another little circle. I'll just clean that off. Jury's still out on that little experiment, but we will keep waiting and seeing how that goes. I might get out a little credit card and give it an old one. Give it a little wipe around so that it's very evened out. Let's just cut a little circle. So I'm going to grab again from in here. Oops, the circle that I was using, which I think is one of these two. I think it's that one. Yeah, I think is that the one I cut out just before? Yes, it is. Right, just whip that one through my machine, and we will re-stamp our with love. Okay, and before I pop the little with love on, I'm just going to do a little bit of ink blending in the background, because it's a bit tricky to do that. In fact, I'll just do a little bit of the darker one as well. It's a bit tricky to do that once you've stamped it. And this is a smaller stamp than my ink pad, so I will go that way. Oops, there we go, that looks much better. Okay, so that can be tucked under, or it can just be tucked to the side a little bit, which I think I will do. Right, that's looking pretty cute. We're going to have to raise, imagine if it was that colour though. So sweet, love it. Okay, we are going to raise this a little bit with some foam tape, some dimensionals, because it's nice to get that little shadow effect. So I'll pull out my dimensionals from my little pack of bits and bobs that I think are very useful. In fact, there's a few Dimenties, I might use them up too. So we have got, these are quite little dimensionals, these are the minis. I don't seem to have any of the normal ones in here at the moment, so we'll just spread these out a bit. And you can use your little tool to pull off the top. My nails are definitely long enough though, so at the moment they need to have a little bit of a trim. So I can certainly just pull them all off that way. So they're going to be on the front here. I'm going to have my little with love off the side slightly over there, so I need some more dimensionals around here. Actually, I don't need that one. Yep, that'll work there. Let's take those ones off. Oops, he wants to keep coming with me. And this is going to stick onto the back of that card. It could have actually been quite nice, and have I got a bit of black beside me, just to frame that off before I put it down. I think I might, guys. I'm just going to do a quick trim and frame that one off. Right, I'm spreading out today. I've tried all these different types of things, so I'll spread out. We'll just stick this down. And pop this gorgeous little card together. It could do with a little bow, a little bit of twine. Oopsie, I might just pull that slightly over. That into the center. Nice and easy. Now just hang around now, because I'm going to show you a few other ideas with this that I have already tried. Alright, it doesn't look very straight on there because of the way the paper is. Let me just see if I can wriggle it around. Yes, this paper makes it look quite crooked. That is straight though. Okay, there we go. Really sweet. We've got these little diamantes. Let's just see if these are any good. Gold would be awesome, but these are kind of pearly. So let's try a couple of them. I might switch them out for something else, but we'll just... Oh, he's sticking to me. I'm not using my little tool. There's a bit of sparkle and shine, but I think I would prefer some gold ones, so I may switch it out for gold. But there you go, that's a cute little card using that mask, using a bit of embossing powder, which is kind of a fun idea. Now let's look at some other projects. Right, so I have recently in class been using this mask for... We have done this one, which I think some of you may have seen, that used the mask to colour in just the front. I actually heat embossed the outline as a black solid, and that was a really pretty effect. But then I've also used it to turn what is seen as a little bit more of a bee themed set. This meant to be scrapbooking kit. Has certainly got some gorgeous little elements with bees in it. But I pulled in the same paper from the kit, but I've embellished it with these gorgeous flowers. It's quite hard to show you the whole lot in the one frame. Now there's a cute little trick with these flowers. Over here you'll see there's a little cluster, some little ones. Let's pop that down there. So if you look at the stamp set, we've just got the full-size flowers and some leaves. So how did we get these little ones here? Well, if you pull out the die cutting set, which because mine aren't on a magnetic sheet at the moment, they are falling apart a bit, but I've actually got a die cut that is the shape of just one of those flowers. Let me put it up there, this flower here. And I've also in this set got a die cut that is the shape of these 3 gorgeous little sort of starry parts of the hydrangea. So I have cut out that little hydrangea piece in the background from a hydrangea that I had pre-masked, and I have cut out that fun little flower from one of these that I had already pre-masked. So you can make smaller versions of the same things as well, which is quite fun. So that there is a beautiful page, which to me, which says happiness, you make a difference, celebrate you. Perfect for Mother's Day coming up. So I've got that one ready to go. And then, I did have one other card actually using that set. This little card's a cutie. It has just done a gorgeous little hydrangea, which I have cut out with the dies and then raised with some dimensionals, added in a little bow, and just cut the card front a bit shorter to show the paper from the background. So that's a little sweet one as well, using that same set. We do have another set currently out that has got masks as well. There's actually probably a few sets. This is the other one I've got, and it's called Layers of Beauty. And this, I can tell you, is actually going forward into next year as well, which I'm so pleased. So it's in our next brand new core catalogue that you're all going to get your hands on for May. It has got this gorgeous, beautiful, beautiful bouquet of flowers. It does have, as I say, a whole set of masks as well to colour in your beautiful large image. And once again, in the dies, it has got a smaller die that just cuts out this one rose. So you can kind of do the whole cluster, or you can just pull out one little rose. And what have I done with that set? So I have done, you don't actually have to use the masks every time. So this one, I just literally did the outline stamp and left it at that. Really, really simple. This one, I have made the background a little bit more interesting with an embossing folder, but I've just masked up with a very light grey outline the lovely bouquet. And this one, I've layered up the background with a few interesting pieces of paper. I've done a little bit more embossing again onto this middle piece. And I've done my layering on here, putting it in a slightly different angle. And then I've layered over and put in a little flower as well. So that one's quite sweet, do some masking. And then for scrapbooking, I actually did heat embossed outlines all the way down the side of the page. And then I've used my stencil masks to just add a soft bit of colour over the leaves and over the flowers. And then I've cut out an entire one. I didn't mask the background, but I only masked that little cutout, the little rose. So you can see how beautifully these floral pieces, these floral stamps, dies with masks work for our scrapbooking and our card making. So I hope you enjoyed seeing all those ideas with the masks. So we have used ink blending, we have used some really fun effect with the stickles or just some sort of glittery element. We've also used heat embossing, so you've got that lovely gold finish by heat embossing one of the layers of the stencils. We could even spritz, so even if you had some beautiful pearly ink inside a little spritz bottle with alcohol, you could do some spritzing over your mask and just get that nice layer through with that too. So many possibilities with the masks that come in our bundles. Hope you enjoyed seeing that come together, and I hope that inspires you to have a look through your stash and see if you've got some masks hidden away that you could have a play with and do some fun creating. Thanks for watching me tonight, and we will catch you all again next week. See you later.